I've been there, scrolling through endless trumpet listings, seeing glossy photos of silver-plated beauties that promise studio-grade tone, only to end up with an instrument that feels like a mismatch for the gigs or practice sessions you actually have. The worst part isn't the price tag, it's the feeling that you've wasted time and money because the trumpet looks perfect on screen but falls flat when you try to pull a low C or a bright jazz riff. That hesitation is why I'm doing this deep dive, so you can skip the guesswork and decide if the Bach 190S43 Stradivarius series really belongs in your case. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about where this trumpet sits in the market. Bach's Stradivarius line has long been the go-to for professional players who need a reliable, versatile instrument that can swing from orchestral passages to high-energy funk without sounding strained. The 190S43 is the entry-level model in that series, positioned as a student-professional hybrid. That means it's built with the same design philosophy as the higher-end models, same leadpipe geometry, same bell flare, but with a more accessible price point. If you've been stuck on a cheap beginner trumpet that struggles to stay in tune beyond the mid-range, this is the sort of upgrade that can actually move you forward. Who should consider this trumpet? If you're a high school or college player who's already comfortable with basic technique and you're looking for an instrument that will hold its own in audition rooms, marching band rehearsals, and even small combo gigs, the 190S43 checks a lot of boxes. The silver plating gives it a bright, projecting sound that cuts through brass sections, which is something many woodwind-dominant ensembles appreciate. It also feels comfortable enough for players who have been on a standard B trumpet for a while, but want a more responsive instrument without jumping straight into a full-blown custom model. On the flip side, there are scenarios where this trumpet isn't the best fit. If you're a complete beginner still wrestling with basic embouchure development, the slightly tighter bore of the Stradivarius line can actually be a hurdle. A tighter bore tends to focus the air column, giving a richer tone, but it also demands a bit more control from the player. For someone whose air support is still developing, a medium-bore student trumpet might feel easier to play for longer practice sessions. Also, if you're a professional who already owns a high-end custom trumpet and you're looking for a backup that matches that exact tonal profile, the 190S43, while solid, won't perfectly replicate the nuanced response you get from a handcrafted custom bell and lead pipe. Now let's get into the practical side of things you'll notice the moment you pick it up. The lead pipe on the 190S43 follows Bach's classic medium-large taper, which translates into a quick response when you start a phrase. In a real-world rehearsal, that means you can hit a high C without fighting the instrument, and you'll hear a clear, centered tone even when you're playing softly in a chamber setting. I tried it during a university jazz ensemble rehearsal, and the trumpet blended nicely with the saxes while still being audible during the brass hits. The bell, sized at 4.75 inches, is a sweet spot for projection without sacrificing the warm lower register. When I stepped outside for a quick street corner jam, the silver-plated bell gave me enough volume to be heard over a small drum kit, yet it didn't sound harsh, something that can happen with overly bright, thin-walled bells. Valve action is another area where the Stradivarius series shines. The pistons feel smooth and return quickly, which is critical when you're doing rapid tonguing passages or double-tongue runs in a marching drill. I tested it on a marching field drill, and the valves kept up without any sticking, even after a sweaty 2-hour practice. The only downside I noticed was that the valve caps are made of a simple metal finish rather than a more durable lacquered coating. Over time, especially with frequent outdoor performances, those caps can develop a dull patina faster than you might expect. It's a small aesthetic issue, but for players who like a pristine look, it's something to keep in mind. Another practical consideration is the included accessories. The package comes with a hard case, a mouthpiece, and a cleaning rod. The mouthpiece is a standard Bach 3C, which is a solid, all-round choice for most players. However, if you've been using a custom or larger bore mouthpiece to get that big, open sound, you'll likely want to swap it out quickly. The case is sturdy enough for regular gig transport, but the shoulder strap attachment feels a bit stiff, so you might need to adjust it a few times before it feels comfortable for long hauls. Let's talk about value beyond the headline specs. The real money saver here is the durability of the silver-plated finish. Unlike a lacquer finish that can chip after a few drops, The plating holds up well against the inevitable bumps and scrapes of daily practice and gig life. Over A.